Hello. I'm talking about a kind of conditioned or learned behaviour that people who went to residential school could have. And I realise it can sometimes go back various generations. It could be men and women, or it could be more experienced by women. And we could be completely unaware that this is between us and other people and life, costing us intimacy, love, support, connection, relatedness, engagement, and maybe other things such as work. So there's this outside barrier around us, which it's kind of there to protect us and to condition behavior, such as, you know, self-expression and emotions, just speaking up for oneself, just being able to say, "Oh, this is going on for me," or "I'm feeling like this," or something like that. And it's it can often lead to sort of someone beating themselves up and continuing the kind of trauma that they experienced at school. Because when you're at school, you're surrounded by teachers and other pupils, and you don't have your parents there or siblings, and the former childhood relationship that we have with our siblings, the very natural relationship, can be broken. And that affects how we relate to other people, because the people we're mostly surrounded by are our parents' friends and our classmates. So that can lead people feeling unloved, pushed away, rejected, unwanted, all those kind of feelings that people who are adopted can have. So you've got this thing, and it can create distrust and arguments, and it's just lack of understanding others and realizing that the feelings we're having are also experienced by other people. So the cure ultimately is speaking up, speaking out, vulnerability, daring to speak up and say, "This is what I'm going on. This is how I'm feeling. Can I take your side a moment? I just need to tell someone this before I get into my evening," that kind of thing. So there's this barrier. So when we're out socializing, for example, can notice that just wondering when someone's going to say, "Oh, I just need to go to the loo," and then not come back, like at a party, or someone say, "I'm just going to go and get another drink. Would you like one?" and then not come back. And all those kind of rather passive aggressive and indirect ways that people reject each other. And when you're away at residential school, or particularly like troubled teen industry in America, that it's very unresearched and cruel, really, frankly. The thing that's really important, I think, one top thing is young people up to the age of 8 having, if they're lucky enough to have their grandparents alive, having access and spending time with some of those grandparents. Like, we can have 4 grandparents, but whether or not they're alive until the child is 8, that that's something, that hopefully they are, because don't forget, your parents are kind of learning on the job. They're just finding their way as they go. They're kind of copying their parents, that kind of thing. But when the grandparent comes along, they're like, "Oh, you're so sweet. Just give him a sweet, let him off," like that kind of thing. And so you just get that extra bit of acceptance. I was wondering which side my oh that oh yeah. So that bit of acceptance that we get from grandparents, and the Spanish have a saying which is "Los niños con los abuelos son más seguros." Excuse my accent, which means that children with grandparents are more secure and could just not be looking for approval or seeking approval, that kind of thing. So you're just not needing that kind of reinforcement or acknowledgement. Just letting you actually go ahead and do and say what you want to, and what you genuinely really think, rather than what you're told to think, or what you think you should think, or what people want to hear, or people pleasing, all that kind of thing. So I was speaking from experience here of living in London and being a massive people pleaser to the level of doormat level, which is right, you know, top level people pleasing, and saying what I think people want to hear. And I discovered this because I said something I thought would please someone, and then, you know, it didn't, the long and the short of it. And I wouldn't have said it if I had been able to say, look, I've just had a conversation with someone that's really affected me, and I didn't know that was going to happen. And I just need to say that to someone before I can get on and enjoy the evening. Otherwise, other things will happen. So, we've all got to have an understanding of each other as human beings. And yesterday, a friend came out with an absolute top quote: all the rubbish that comes out of your mouth, it comes out of mine too. Very good. But anyway, unfortunately, it didn't hold all evening. So the ways to break out of this. So one thing you could do is to learn a poem and then scream it to the top of your lungs as if it's the last thing you're going to say in your life. So that kind of uncorks the pops the cork, and can liberate you, because when you have like that mind, you think of something you want to say, like, I'm feeling a bit rubbish or something like that. And then your internal censor comes and stops you from saying it. It never gets said. It never gets known by the people. And then everything that plays out is kind of like, they should know. We often say people should know, they should be able to read our minds, they ought to be able to tell from my body language and everything like that. The thing is, we get so many messages and signals and hints and other non-verbal communication, and other signs, that in the end, the best way is just to actually just say it straight. So the ultimate way to break out of this barrier and to be connected to other people and related, and to be connected to real events. So we don't have the colour, we don't have the distortion of our experiences and our memories and our experience, memory, circumstances, our inherited traits and our character and the things we learnt from our parents. We don't have all of that colouring reality. It's a bit like looking at the rearview mirror, of what's behind you in a car, or the side mirrors. You can see what's behind you a lot clearer than you can if you're just, hindsight. It's just that kind of thing. So anyway, when you come out and you say this thing you really mean, this genuine truth, it might not be the ultimate thing, but that's what conversation's for. It's to respond. So when you say it, and the response could be like, you've never said anything like this before. This is completely daring, and out you come and you say it, and the response is so much nicer and kinder than anything you could ever have imagined. And that sort of like slowly begins to let people draw themselves out to speak up and everything like that, to begin to liberate themselves from this barrier between ourselves and life. Yeah, so the other thing to do, the other thing we can do is just, so just like they say about sanity, is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is to try different things, but ultimately is to basically not push things down or not bottle them up. If no one has time or no one is available to speak, maybe it's not the time to be around those people on that particular occasion. So I've learned the hard way. And it doesn't mean anything about them or about me. It doesn't mean anything. It's just not the time. And so the whole mechanism of like hearing other people's feedback and responses. So we say something and there's a reaction or there's something like that. So it could trigger someone, it could push a button, it could step on one of their minefields, something like that. It could just set them off or remind them of something. It's just like being able to say what you need to say, because if you don't say that, you could potentially never break through that barrier. So there you go.